Yes, yes, yes. It is the Cast Worthy Podcast, and we are back. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the Twitter machine, joined today by the one, the only VP, sometimes of research, other times of just useless information, but he's here. And right now, it's 2/3 of the Cast Worthy Podcast, and we're waiting on the last cog to pop in, and he's usually right on time. So I suspect that he will be popping in shortly. Oh my God, look at that. Look at the timing on this
Steve,
guy.
stop fronting to the listeners like you're always on time. Can you stop, please? Just stop it. Me and Vari are sick of it. We're sick of it. Stop it,
Hey,
man.
what does Shanti say?
Just
I'm not
stop it.
always there when you call, but I'm always on time.
Just stop it, man. You got these people believing that you're a company man, and just stop.
Lost his connection.
No, he took himself out by accident.
I
That's
did
how
by
full of
accident.
shit.
Listen, man. You front like you this company man. You know when you're really Craig on Fridays stealing boxes. Stop it, okay? Stop it.
I gotta keep you aligned, man. I gotta keep you in line.
You
It's
just have asshole ways you can't help yourself.
That's true. It's conference championship weekend in the NFL, and we got a lot of catching up to do on the divisional games from last week. There's some outrage that's out there from police brutality that took place recently, and some videos coming out in Memphis. We'll get to that. LeBron had a meltdown last night. I put that in the chat. Hope you gentlemen saw that. I know VP you watched it, and just a bunch of other shit going on. So lot to talk about today. It is Sunday, January 29th, prior to the games being played. So any takes that you get today are going to be before they play. And of course, we'll talk about some bingeables. So, but before we get started, man, what you guys been up to? How has your week been? VPU, are you settling into the new digs?
Oh yeah, man, for sure. Yeah,
Any
it's just
neighbors? Any windows you can peek in from your second floor?
nah, none of that.
Oh,
None of that. We do have one neighbor that comes by and talks to my sister, but she's an adult woman, but she's
Oh,
I
here we
guess
go. Here we go.
she's autistic, but
Okay.
what that mean?
yes. Hmm?
What that mean?
No, so like she just like comes over and like just talks like about random stuff or whatever. Like even when you don't have time. So but
So
it's not like
she just don't know. She don't know boundaries.
yeah,
It's not her. It's not her fault. Yeah,
right. But she's nice. It's just sometimes you don't have time, you know.
yeah. Yeah, for real. Especially y'all ain't never on time nowhere. So there's that. Anything else anything you found in the neighborhood? Any good? I know last week you had what was it, a Haitian spot
Now the
or
Bahamian spot.
Bohemian spot? Anything else in the neighborhood that you found?
Nah, not yet. Not yet. That was the only thing I've done like out of the house so far. So mostly just been chilling, man. I got for my main gig, it's end of the month for me, so it's like basically just been a grind all week.
Yeah. End of the month is always tough. Fiscals, all of that. Beginning of the year, end of the month. You know how it goes. EJ, what's up with you, man? Is it what's the weather like up there in Old Bmore?
It's 30s, high 30s right now. Not too bad. Last
Absolutely
night
not.
was cold. Last night was a little
Absolutely
on the
not.
colder side.
No snow is doable though, right?
It looks like it looks like it wants to snow, but it's not. It's not hitting us, man. It's not hitting us. Playing games, man.
Trying to
Playing
get that day
games.
off.
Hey, yeah, just something. Even if I go into work, I don't mind because I'll drive through the snow. You know, these people down here can't do that. I'll drive through the snow and I'll get on the train and I'll just walk everywhere I gotta go and I'll be fine. You know what I mean? Commute is no babies, it's no, you know what I mean? It's just beautiful when it's snowing,
Mm-hmm.
national emergencies. You know what I'm saying? It's actually a beautiful commute. You know what I mean? Like,
No school buses in the way and shit.
yeah, dumbass drivers. It's a
I miss
beautiful
that from
commute.
COVID time.
Yeah,
I
man.
couldn't. I couldn't do it, man. I saw a dude on Twitter. He's from, I think he's at New Jersey, and he was like, he just think you really don't understand it until you experience it. Being 81 degrees in December or January, I think he said, or whatever, because he was from Jersey. He was down in Miami. So like I can't do cold weather, man. I don't see how
No,
y'all do it.
no, you're right. You're right. Once you're here and you get that perfect like last week we had some perfect days where it was like 70s, not too hot, not too cool, decent breeze, cool at night so you could throw a hoodie on, all of that. Um Once you see that in January, December, January, it makes it tough to go back up there. But but you miss the snow at times. Like I miss snow days. I miss being able to just kind of lock in and you know make some chili, watch some bullshit. They always put bullshit movies on when there's a big snowstorm. So some good shit to some good like guilty pleasure movies and shit. But
What's
So,
going
so
on with you
what's
though?
been up with you?
ain't nothing, man. Same old shit. Went out last night. Tried to channel my inner youth. Found a little little hipster place, some Gen Zers, which was pretty cool. And, good music, decent
Downtown?
drinks, had some wine. Yeah, it was like off of downtown though, like not the like true downtown area.
Mm,
It was kind of up off of downtown by like the hospital area VP, like RMC up in that
Mhm.
area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little back spot, real like hidden quaint joint called the Wellborn. Shout out to them. It's actually like a little hotel. What are you laughing at?
It sounds right on the nose for you. The
The well,
Wellborn.
the Wellborn.
I'm,
It's
I'm
not.
I'm imagining the place now.
No, it's not that kind of Wellborn.
They're in there like this, EJ.
bougie. Nah, they was feeding them drinks in some type of hipster type can or
Oh,
something
okay.
It-
environmentally safe.
right, with like sugar cane straws and shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Mhm.
graffiti on the wall, artistically done.
hey, listen, that's on brand for me, man. That's
Yeah,
on brand
that's
for me.
that's how
I'm
you know you're getting old, though, man. Like,
right.
before you'd be, if it was like 5 years ago, you're like, yeah, we went out last night, man, had some shots. Man, I was throwing back this, throwing back that. Now you're like, yeah, we went out, had a little wine.
Mm-hmm. Had some white wine. I was on the white last night. That's my choice usually. Uh, I was on the white though, and not that white, but the white wine. And I think I had one little drink, some bourbon. EJ, you would have liked it.
What you have?
It's something they called fuck, what was it called? It's called the Bo Jackson. The drink was actually called the Bo Jackson.
I would like that for that alone.
Yeah, and it was like it was bourbon and some pineapple. Well, what you drink, bourbon and pineapple, and then it had like lime, some other shit. But it was actually pretty good. That was the one true alcoholic drink I had. Trying to keep it light. But I popped in and saw E on Friday on my way home from work. He was out having a drink and I went to go pick up my Costco card and he forgot my Costco card, so it was a waste of a trip for me. But got to sit down and talk, a little bit of football with him. Talked about his thoughts for this weekend and last weekend, and I'll probably actually link up with him today to watch the game at 3. But
so, so it wasn't a
let's get
wasted
to that.
trip.
Nah, it
It
was
sounded like a
good. It
setup.
was a wasted trip for the wife who was like, "You didn't come back with the card."
Yeah,
Now
it
she
sounded
got
like a
her own
setup.
card. No, that was
She
her
was
own
Nah,
like,
card.
we'll spend today together, and then you got to come and get the card again, and we'll spend today again.
Right.
exactly.
All right.
And he
But
will likely forget again.
yeah, he might. Nah, but I mean, it was just a wasted trip for what the actual intent was, which
Yeah,
was
yeah.
go get the Costco card. But it was all good. We had some conversation, talked about these NFC Championship, AFC Championship, mostly NFC because he's an Eagles fan. We talked about the divisional round. Before we get into the championship round, I want you guys' takes on the divisional round games that happened last week. Um, we could start with we'll save the best for last because it's going to be very vocal, but we'll start with we can start with the Bengals game. So it was what, Bengals and Buffalo, yes?
Bills.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean,
Go ahead,
Buffalo.
AFC East, take it away.
The Bengals Buffalo, man, like, I think that the game it wasn't surprising, right? I think the result, I think people's somewhat shock of the result is from the fact that you had everybody in the media, all the talking head types who crowned the Bills, you know, early.
Juggernauts.
They went out and they destroyed the Rams week one, and then people said, "That's it. I've seen enough. Here's your Super Bowl. Here's your Super Bowl champion after week one."
Right.
And throughout throughout the year, this team has showed that it's flawed, right? And we spent week after week saying, "Man, Minnesota, they don't look like a 7-0 team. They don't look like a 10-1 team, or whatever the record was." And we never said that about Buffalo, even though Buffalo was having these same kinds of problems. You know what I mean? And they get into the playoffs. They struggle to win against Miami with a third string quarterback in the wild card round. And then they play against a real offense who got a real quarterback, who got real receivers, and they lose, and they lose terribly. And I think that this whole conversation about there are, three great quarterbacks in the league: Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and then there's everybody else. I think that Josh Allen should not be in that conversation at this point. The dude has only gone to one AFC championship and lost, and he's either lost in the wild card round or the divisional round any other time he's been in the playoffs. I think that it's Mahomes, Burrow, and then everybody else. And I think Josh Allen should be removed from the conversation uh uh into a future date when he proves he deserves to be there.
Tier
That's a
one
that's
today. Tier one today is talent, Burrow and Mahomes. To your point, that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You agree, EJ?
well, just touching on what VP said. I mean, we're both he and I are both AFC East fans. I watched my Jets beat them very early in the season with Zach Wilson as a quarterback. I watched that game, and honestly, I can tell you that Buffalo was destined for this for a long time. Their defense has been injured. They didn't get younger. Like Steve, you were giving them praise for Von Miller. And what did I say? I said, he's going to get hurt. He's not going to play this season. And that's what happened, largely. They didn't get younger on defense, and that's where they really went wrong. They just fired Leslie Frazier, I think, as a DC. I think he's at
Mm.
DC. So
Selective
I don't
account
see that.
selective accountability, man.
selective
Hmm.
accountability, and they didn't improve. They went and drafted a first rounder out of Florida. Well, I don't know if he's a first rounder, but they drafted a corner, but they didn't really get anything else anywhere else. And then you look at the offensive side of the ball. I don't know who is calling the plays there, but they refuse to run the ball.
Ken
Right.
The
Dorsey.
games Ken Dorsey, the games that they have won, they've beaten Baltimore, which you got to give them credit for making these statement games in the AFC, but they ran the ball. You're not going to beat a team like Cincinnati that is so well balanced if you don't run the football. So that's another thing. Now, when you talk about the tier levels of quarterbacking, I got Mahomes. I mean, if you're talking about active guys, I got Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Why? Because they won Super Bowls. We could very well be having this conversation about Burrow a year from now if he starts to decline. I don't know yet. I'm not saying he will, but I'm just saying I think the top tier should be for proven guys that have a ring, and then everyone else you could talk about because Josh Allen, up until now, has not given anyone a real reason to doubt, except for his years prior to Stephon Diggs, that he can do what he does. But Steve has pointed this out before. Take Stephon Diggs out the game, and he's done. And so that the other thing is, who else is he throwing to? Knox. Knox is a guy that has emerged to be good, decent, but he's not always good. Gabe Davis.
That's
not
a
always
once in a
great.
blue. Yeah, once every 3 games he's gonna get off. Pause.
Exactly. Stephon Diggs is he's this offense is really when you break it down and you look at the games they lost, they're really a one-trick pony. They're a two-man
Mm,
game. Literally, if he's not throwing a Diggs, he's running himself for 20 yards.
that's right.
So I say that to say, I don't know. I think I always hate on the Bills. I always say 40-year-old virgins. They always get to knocking on the door and they never get in. And I hope they stay that way. But I think this team could be good if they just change their ideology. They have a run game, they just refuse to use it. So I don't know. I don't know. I won't say that. Like I said, my tier one is those that have a ring that can speak to actually
Russ
winning
Wilson.
the Super Bowl. Russ and even Russell Wilson, before this season, you would say he's a tier one guy, right? He's been there. Even though I've always hated on him and said largely that was the defense. But I got to give him his credit. So I would say tier one for me is those with the rings, and then after that we can talk. And
So
but
Carson Wentz,
Carson Wentz didn't. I was gonna say Jared Goff, but again, I don't know, man. It depends. What are you
Matt Stafford,
defining as tier one?
But Wentz didn't win the ring. He didn't. He was on the
Matt
team.
Stafford.
I've
Stafford got
I've
it.
always hated on Matt Stafford, but when you talk about it, people say he's gonna be in the Hall of Fame. I say all he's ever done was throw the ball up to Calvin Johnson all his life.
So I agree with you real quickly on the tier thing. I wasn't trying to exclude Brady or Rodgers. I look at those guys as like being different. Like Brady is in a whole nother stratosphere. So that's why like it goes without saying. You
But
know what
you're
I'm saying?
talking about today's talent.
Yeah,
Like
like today, like up and
today's
coming.
talent. Yeah,
Got
I
you,
would
got you.
say when you talk about how guys are playing today, this season, within the last, call it 24 games, right? This season and some of last, I agree. I think you have those two. I would call Josh Allen like at a 1.5 tier. Versus the 1 tier. I do agree that you got Burrow
Mahomes.
and Mahomes are definitely the front runners there. I think you guys hit the nail on the head with Buffalo. EJ's point, they're two-trick pony. When all you have to scheme for a run game is the quarterback, it's a lot easier because you can spy him. You can spy him with any one of your linebackers. Have your safety, stay give the help over the top on Diggs, and now he's stopped, right? The running backs are rarely ever going to get the ball. The games where Singletary did run the ball for 80, 90, 100 yards, they won those games convincingly. But, the games where Josh Allen runs for 80, 90 yards and then throws for 300, they win the games, but they're, 24, 17, 17, 13. They just have a ton of yards and not much scoring. And, but because he does that and he fills the stat sheet, they like to put him up there. Oh, he's
Mhm.
Josh Allen and he's, one of the greatest. And, is he the next this guy? And unfortunately he's not. We're just not seeing that. Like today, let me ask you guys this. If you're building a franchise today, with today's talent, no cap, forget the team, and your first pick, are you picking Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson?
Josh Allen.
I would say Josh Allen. I was gonna ask y'all also, do you put Lamar Jackson in the tier one? Talking about an offensive MVP, human highlight reel, put 50 up on the Dolphins. I just wanted to say on the Dolphins. I mean, do you put him as a
But he
tier one?
lost, right?
Lost
Put
what
50
though?
and lost the
No,
No,
game.
no, no.
that was last year when we were,
No, he
or
beat
not
the
last year.
hell out of the year
Whenever
before. It
the
was 2 seasons
I think
ago.
it was 2 seasons ago when we had the team that had players that used to be construction workers and shit because we were trying to tank for Tua.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I mean, again, offensive MVP. You know what I'm saying? And then this is my thing. This is why I feel like maybe, and I feel like I still feel like the league is microwave and not arguing the same point as last year. But I just think that we're fickle in everything, right? We'll talk about basketball and say, well, this person didn't have this, didn't have that around them, didn't have this around them, didn't have that around them. Cincinnati, and I posted it in the chat. Marcus Spears broke it down how this dude went from being the most sacked quarterback in the league. He has the talent as an individual, but that team went out, they restructured the offensive line, they drafted his college boy, They got other supplemental receivers that are not slouches. They got Joe Mixon, who outside of the domestic violence situation he got while I believe at Oklahoma, he would have been a first round, because I don't think they took him first round. I think he was second round. He would have been a bona fide first round pick that they stole in that draft, if I remember correctly. Um, they got weapons, right? And their defense is kind of like, people shit on Eli Apple, but this dude is one of those corners that are not afraid to go against your number one and get burned. And they got pieces, right? When you look at the Ravens have never had a top tier receiver in his prime ever. And then you look at Buffalo, as we just said, all really Josh can depend on is Stephon Diggs. Miami, I think, has the right formula. I hate to say it. I think they had the right formula. They went and got Cheetah, Waddle. They got a bend, not break defense, and they got a run game. But I mean, unfortunately for them, they got the glass man as a quarterback. You know what I mean? So I just, again, I think when you're considering these things, what factors do we pick and choose to talk about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, I listen. I agree with all of that you guys said. And to not drag it on, let's move on to that. And this will probably be very quick. Giants Eagles. We pretty much said it, and part of your breakdown, VP. Minnesota's was not a team. It was not a playoff team. They were, the benefit of a shitty division all year. They a lot of comebacks, one score wins, so they made it there. They got beat by the Giants pretty badly, right? And so because they were beaten so badly by the Giants, people forgot the reality of the Giants and the reality of Daniel Jones, including EJ, and were like, nope, that guy deserves. And it came out recently, actually. I think it was yesterday. I saw the post. This guy's looking for a $30 million contract. Fuck out of here. Stop. Fuck out of here. He
Did you hear what
is.
VP said?
I know what he said, and he's wrong.
No, I mean, I'm not saying he should get it. I'm saying he will. I mean, the market's just been reset for quarterback pay. So
the Giants will never pay that. The Giants will never pay that. And
look,
there's too many. When you got guys like Lamar that are sitting out there with no job, people that are looking to trade for Kyler Murray, there's a lot going on to where for him to command $30 million a year, Daniel Jones, not out. Not out.
You have to look at quarterbacks kind of like the housing market, right? So, in 2012, a 3-bedroom house, in Orlando might have been 250. In 2022, a 3-bedroom house in Orlando is like 500 grand. You know what I'm saying? And I think the quarterback pay is kind of the same way. It's just inflated value. These contracts,
But
and this is part of the thing what's going on with Lamar is that Lamar understands that he's the quarterback now that has to reset the market, and whatever he does is going to determine what other quarterbacks do. The same thing with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson went to Seattle saying, "I need X." They were going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then Miami did Tannehill's deal, and then Russell Wilson said, "Actually, fuck X. Now I need Z, because this is what this guy he got X, and I'm better than him."
Yeah, and it's always going to be like that. But and using that same analogy that you used, Daniel Jones is that Zillow post. You go on Zillow, you go on houses.com, realtor.com, and you're like, yo, this is a gem. This shit is nice. Look at the fucking paint, nice and clean. And then you get there and the neighborhood is shit. The roof got holes in it. You know what I'm saying? The pool needs to be redone. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. It's a fixer-upper, but they posted all the good pictures. And that's what Daniel Jones did. He gave you a game against Minnesota. And if you think about it, the game prior, I think they played the Eagles, and he sat. So you really didn't get to see what that was going to look like. And if I'm Dabble, I probably would have played my starters that game in week 18. You're risking injury, but at least they're getting a look at what they're going to see potentially in 2 weeks, right? They didn't get to see what that Eagles defense or offense looked like. Only their backups got to see that, right? So as you're watching it, you're like, oh well, our backups did pretty good because they really did. They did okay. Again, the backups played a better game against the Eagles than their fucking starters, if you will. And so yeah, they beat up on Minnesota, which was a team that just wasn't ready. Justin Jefferson, he collapsed at the end of the season. Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins, and they just don't know how to. What happens with the Giants and Minnesota, like similarly, they can't find a way to get the ball in their stars' hands, right? So when Justin Jefferson, for example, when they played Green Bay and he went 1 for 5, he had one catch in like the fourth quarter. And before that, they just couldn't get him the ball because they kept running the same deep routes. They kept running the same wild ass, hitches and stuff like that. Have this guy run a drag or a slant route just to get his hands on the ball and get his confidence up, right? Same thing with the Giants. Saquon Barkley, they couldn't get him going and they just couldn't figure it out. So they're like, all right, well, let's let Daniel Jones throw the ball. Let him throw the ball. Let him throw the ball. And they got beat up really, really badly against the Eagles. And, as good of a coach as Dabble has been all year, I feel like there was some opportunity in that game where they could have probably kept it a little closer. They weren't winning that game, but they probably could have kept it closer.
Well, I think you guys touched on it last week. That made the most sense to me was, get him back for the 5th year. Get a receiver in there because again, you can't expect a quarterback to do something when a defense knows all you're gonna do is give it to Saquon Barkley. They not worried about Slayton beating them on the edge. They're not worried about none of them guys. None of the receivers that they have are anyone afraid of right now at this point. And they don't really have a complete offense just yet. So I think this will be the draft for them to really see what they're gonna do because they took a first round edge guy last year that got hurt a lot this season instead of really investing in the offensive side of the ball, which I kind of was baffled a little bit by when they had Leonard Williams and other guys that they knew that they would have to pay and do something with. But I agree with you, Steve. While I agree with Vari in the market level, I just don't think the Giants as an organization would do it after that 5th year. But let's
Yeah,
see.
he gets
and
30
the thing
million
is,
if he gets tagged. I think that's the only way he gets 30 million.
yeah, I mean, next year they don't got to pay him 30. I mean, they can just pick up this 5th year option and
Right.
then, play him. But also remember, after last season, the Giants owner, Mora, however you say his name, Mara, when he said, we've done everything possible to screw this kid, we failed him or whatever, all the coaching changes, all the coordinator changes and things like that. So, to EJ's point, do they go out there and say, let's put weapons around this kid and see what we really have and then decide if we need to move on from there? Or do they just kind of make changes around the edges and then, see what happens and then move on?
Yeah, you absolutely try to build around him. You know why? Because if he still isn't the guy, all you got to do is plug someone else in, and now you have something for them to thrive off of.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. What else? What other games did we have last week? What was the other AFC game? I don't know why it's slipping. Oh, Kansas City. We saw Kansas
Kansas
City
City,
go out there.
Jacksonville.
I think there's some chatter to be had there. Jacksonville goes into Kansas City. We see the game was closer than everyone expected, and that was partially because Mahomes got hurt. Um, but I get it, man. The dude's a $500 million guy, and for you to take him and throw him out there and say he can't even step on his leg, and you still allow him to finish that game. I think we talked about it last week,
Yeah,
didn't
we
we? Because
talked
that was
about
a
it.
Saturday. Okay,
We
so
talked
I
about it.
thought that was a tough one. All right, well then we don't need to talk much about that game then. So let's talk about the Cowboys game. And where there was a lot of chatter here. Um, I'll let you guys start.
I mean, for for the Cowboys, I mean, I said it last week when we talked about the game, before the game, is that Dak has shown us I'm this kind of quarterback all season, and then he had the Tampa game, And everybody was like, "Oh, okay, here we go. This is the Dak that we need." And I said, you know, is Dak going to be who he was all season, or is he going to be who he was this one game? And he showed us he's going to be who he was all season. Like, there's a reason that the guy missed 5 or 6 games and still led the league in interceptions, which is an insane number stat when you hear about it. The fact that you can miss that many games and still lead the league in picks. But
Well, he
overall,
tied
man,
for that with Josh Allen.
yeah, it was tied. But him and Josh Allen.
It's a tie, damn it.
Um,
But still, Josh Allen, they're like, well, this guy is still the star. He's still the
Yeah.
greatest guy since, Tom Brady.
But I mean, it was just, everybody did. I saw Emmanuel Acho who said this, and I think that is absolutely true. The defense did enough for Dallas to win. The special teams did enough for Dallas to win.
Yeah.
The pretty much everybody on offense did enough for Dallas to win, except for Dak. Like,
Well,
he just
Mike McCarthy didn't do enough for Dallas to win. Mike McCarthy did. So, all right, I can't. Sorry, EJ, I can't.
I'd have to agree.
Can't wait
I'd have to
anymore.
agree. Go ahead, brother.
Dak Prescott threw 2 interceptions. Both interceptions led to 6 points total. So while, yes, they're bad interceptions, one of them was probably a 10-point swing because we probably would have gotten at least 3 right before the half. But here's the thing. If you go out there as a head coach in the playoffs, you play that game like you're supposed to play that game by the book. You don't play that game by, Stephen A. Smith saying your kicker sucks, or, fucking Colin Cowherd saying you can't trust your kicker. You go out there, you kick the fucking field goal, right? And the reason you kick the field goal is because what happened. Dak was already not having a great game. He had already thrown 1 interception. And now you're putting this guy in a position with less than 2 minutes left in the red zone to have to make a play or a throw. You don't kick the field goal. You go get the first down. So great. Everyone's like, oh, look, they got the first down. It was, McCarthy's a star. It's amazing that they did that. Okay. Well, the very next play, Tony Pollard gets hurt. And that's the one most explosive guy on that team, especially that offense, aside from CeeDee Lamb. But realistically, for the game we needed to play, that's the guy you needed to win that game. So now every action has a reaction. Every decision has a consequence. That decision of not kicking led to him getting hurt. Then now you don't trust Zeke, right? Zeke can't catch the ball anymore. If you look at every play that was called for him out the backfield, he was looking the other way. Those almost led to interceptions, right? Zeke can't play that game. So now you are trying to force something to a tight end, and Dak doesn't know how to look defenders off. That's the problem. He needs a quarterback coach that can teach him, hey, you need to look this way and keep your peripherals here, or understand and trust that your wide receiver or your tight end is going to be where they're supposed to be based on the play call. And then when you go through your reads, they'll be there by the time you get there and you throw the ball. But if you're sitting there and you're sitting on Dalton Schultz or whomever, any player, you're sitting on them for the bulk of the play, there's going to be a defender that comes through. They also, I think, I'm not sure if it was EJ that said this, they need to get this, or maybe it was, maybe I heard it on Sirius. They need to get his eyes checked. He needs to go get his eyes checked, because there's no fucking way that you are missing all these under defenders. It's not like they're coming and making amazing plays. These are guys that are just maybe that much out of the shot to where if your peripherals are just not working on one side of your eyes, you're missing them. You make this throw and your routes are getting jumped. And it's ridiculous. He should not be missing these. Now, you talk about McCarthy. Aside from that kick, there was a lot of other bullshit he did. End of the game, he waits 30 seconds to call a timeout. 30 seconds to call a timeout. Then you get to that 2-minute area, and granted, it's on the 18-yard line. But these guys are already up by 5. They're not going to throw the ball. Under 2 minutes, I'm going to go for it, because if I go for it, I'm going to give them a short field. They're not going to be able to run as much time off the clock. And when I do get the ball back, I'm going to have a minute and a half, minute and 40 seconds left, because I'm going to burn my timeouts, hopefully get a stop. They kick 3. Now we have a minute and 20, minute and 30, minute and 40 to go down, score, and you just need 8. It's still one possession. So that decision to punt was just, it was probably the worst ever. The thing is, you can't be aggressive one play and then be a bitch the next play. You set your game plan and you play that game plan. If you're going to be aggressive from the first play of the game, then you play aggressive the whole game until you get to that situation. Let's say it's the fourth quarter. You have to kick. You have to go for it. Though that's where you change, but you can't be half and half because especially against a great defense. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, Cowboys played an amazing game. They played a great game. They shut Debo down. No passing touchdowns for the rookie. Pushed him left, which is what you have to do because this guy is horrible decision making when he's out of the pocket going left, which is what the Eagles need to do today. One big play against them with George Kittle with that bobbled play, which I think we talked about in the chat from a rule standpoint. If Trayvon Diggs blows him up, that's a flag. You know what I'm saying? And it sucks that that's the case because now he's considered a defenseless receiver. But in this case, he couldn't. So now he makes a play and they get 45, 50 yards. If I'm a defender from now on, I'm taking that hit. I'd rather give up the 15 than give up the 50 to 60 yards. You're not going to sit there and bobble it and I'm going to let you catch it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's so, I mean, and the offensive line did their job. I don't think Dak really got, I mean, he got hit a little bit. Joey Bosa wasn't really getting through. He got sacked by their middle linebacker, and I forget the guy's name, who is probably the best middle linebacker in the league right now. But, there was so much opportunity, and that game should have been a Cowboys win easily. There's no way they should have lost that game. And, again, we get to the selective accountability. Mike McCarthy is still there. This guy turns around and he's firing people. You're going to fire your coordinators. You're going to fire all these guys, right? But you were the one that made the bad decisions on the coaching side. Jerry Jones needs to nut the fuck up.
I agree with you with the McCarthy piece, not in the sense that going for that play was bad because it got Tony Pollard hurt. Like Tony Pollard got hurt, on a freak tackle. But I agree with you 100% in the Tony Pollard injury being the difference maker, and then Mike McCarthy just abandoning the run. Like it's like if he doesn't have Pollard, it's like Zeke doesn't exist. Right. Which is wild to me. You know what I mean? Like it's really wild to me. Like he just, Tony Pollard catches out the backfield, but then you just stop running the ball. He literally just completely abandoned the run, which was wild to me. And I agree with you on the latter part. If you're going to be aggressive all game long, when the game is on the line, why not keep that same energy? Mm-hmm. So I think other than that, I think that was a winnable football game for y'all, man. And Dak, though, again, I mean, we're talking about another guy that got a max contract, that people like myself were saying is one of those top guys. CD Lamb is obviously bracketed. And Steve, I'm with you. I don't see what homeboy was looking at. And it's not even that he couldn't have made that throw. It's that they kept closing the gap. And he waited too long. By the time he actually let it go, they were closer. So right. I just didn't understand what he was looking at. And to your point, he is not looking around. If CD Lamb is bracketed, you got a high-low coverage guy. Somebody else was open. And it's like, where were you looking at? And again, another point that we've said, the pocket was there. He never tucked and ran. He did it like one or two times. That one time to get the first down and then didn't do it again. So, like I said to y'all before, I think Dak's problem is always going to be mental for him because he's one of those guys like Kaepernick his entire life has had to fight to become a quarterback. And I know this is a stretch for people. And when I was looking at the Kaepernick not documentary, but the little mini series he did on Netflix, when you know a football person, it's all about their psyche, and when you got a guy like Zach Wilson, who since he's 5 years old has been allowed to be, you're going to be a quarterback no matter what, no matter how bad you are. Dak, I think, has not realized that you are the guy now, bro.
Right.
Like you have to come of age. They're giving you the leeway. They gave you the money. You are the starter. Start to act like it. If you don't like the play that's called, if you don't like the situation, if you don't like what you see, You have to be that Aaron Rodgers asshole, Tom Brady asshole.
Change.
Dak has not shown that yet. He's not
No, you're
shown it
right.
yet. He just,
You're right.
I don't
I
know.
think it's something to be said about that. What the point that EJ is making, and especially when you think about how Dak got the job, took it from Romo. He's had his own injury issues. He gets injured, and then he sees Cooper Rush comes in, and people are like, "Oh, Cooper Rush, should Dak come back as a starter?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we even asked that question on the pod. If Cooper Rush is 5-1, 6-0, do you keep rolling with him? You know, and and so maybe that's in his head. And then, like to Steve's point about getting his eyes checked, I always assume that this is something that teams are consistently doing, given the amount of money that they put into players. So
Mm-hmm.
I would just assume that this is something that's done annually.
I hope so.
Maybe it's not. We never know. You know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
think Dak had eye issues, but I think he might have had like
LASIK
LASIK
or
or
some shit.
something like that. But I'm telling you, look into the confidence. Just look at the difference. 75% of this league is black, and only 5% of it are black quarter. Not even 5%. It's like something lower are black quarterbacks, right? And I know we don't want to make this a race thing, but it is the truth. Dak is a third round quarterback that wasn't even getting any consideration to any teams. He was the Senior Bowl MVP, which up until last season, Senior Bowl MVPs have gone on to become good players in the league. And Dak had to scratch and claw to get there. And to your point, VP, these backup quarterbacks, they come in, right? And they play with no regard. They play with reckless abandonment because they really believe in their mind that nothing is gonna come between them. Dak, I think, is literally still afraid and has not realized he is the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. I just don't think he does.
Right. Yeah. Or maybe he has, and it, the star power, the stage is too big, right? For lack of a better word. Um, and then, right, again, I'm going to get back to coaching. Dalton Schultz. How are you not aware that you can't go backwards out of bounds? That's one, right? That, and then he almost gets intercepted. Like, he just made the most boneheaded mistakes on that last drive that, even if the coach doesn't tell you, your coordinator doesn't tell you, Dak Prescott, your quarterback, should be in that huddle saying, "Hey, don't fumble. Don't go out of bounds. But make sure that we stop the clock. Whatever it takes, stop the clock." Right? There's a discipline issue on this fucking team. There's a discipline issue. The penalties, the Cowboys were like the second highest penalized team, and we've been that for
Yeah,
years.
and that's
But
Mike
we've all,
McCarthy's MO.
and
I
that's,
would
and
agree.
right,
I would
he
agree.
does not, he doesn't discipline the team, and that's where we've been since Jason Garrett. Same type of thing. When we didn't have penalty issues, when we had nope, we had penalty issues with Wade Phillips. What was your guy, VP? Parcells. Parcells
Parcells.
was the
Okay.
one coach that I can remember at that time where we did not have penalty issues. We had Romo getting hit because guys were getting off the ball late and stuff like that, but we didn't have the penalties. We didn't have the bad blundered, defensive. We had a defensive penalty in that game where we gave him 15 yards and put him in field goal range. Like,
Yep.
it was
Yep.
like, this is stuff that from a coaching standpoint, you can't clap these guys up and tell them, "Hey, next time, just don't let it happen. You got to have better poise." No, you need to be on the sideline and tell these motherfuckers, "Yo, this doesn't happen. It doesn't
Not
happen again."
You're 100% right, and that's why I don't like the current New York Jets coach. There is no accountability, and you have to. These guys are grown men and they're professionals, right? But they have to be afraid that if they don't perform, they will lose their job. That is just what it is. And when you don't have that accountability and fear, you lack discipline. Look at CJ Mosley, who on the Jets is selected to all pro bowl, whatever. Uh this guy is a veteran linebacker from the Ravens. Twice this season, jumps all the way off sides, knowing the Vikings are trying to draw us off sides. The game versus the Lions, he lets a fourth string tight end leak out on a punt for a 60-yard touchdown. Where's the discipline? And I tell people all the time, like I said, Brian Costello, beat writer for the Jets. Oh, you guys put too much stock in coaching. What? What?
Yeah.
Somebody mic me up on that one, because
Yeah, we
Yeah,
talked
that's
we
idiotic.
we talked about that. All right, so then this weekend we have, actually today, not this week. Today we have two really really good games, and I think we get a really good Super Bowl no matter what happens this week. This is like the first year probably in 2-3 years where you can actually say all four of these teams probably should be in this position, and there's not many teams that could have should have been here. You don't have that one team that you're like, how did they get here? You know what I mean? Like all four of these teams are good. The Bengals are good. Kansas City is good, very good. The Eagles are very good. That's a very good team. And the 49ers is a good team. So Eagles 49ers is the 3:00 game. What do you guys think the outcome of that is?
barring injury, I got to go with Philly.
Yeah, and I agree, man. I mean, we said it last week, and this guy's still a rookie quarterback on one of the biggest stages, 7th round rookie at that, Mister Irrelevant, since he was the last
Mhm.
pick of the draft. And he seemed like he's handling the pressure well, but the pressure is only mounting. Um, and so I think he has to prove the burden of proof is on him at this point. So I think Philly comes away with that win.
Yeah, you're going into a hostile situation going into Philadelphia. They have the worst fans in the world. You know, on both sides of it. They hate the other team and they hate their own team. Like the only fan base that I could say hates their own team as much as Philly hates their own team is the Yankees. Like when the Yankees are losing or the Mets are losing, like New York teams, they're losing. That's the only team that hates their own team as much as Philly in my eyes. Um
I mean, I can introduce you to some Dolphins fans.
yeah,
Jesus.
but you guys ain't never like there's the expectations for the Dolphins aren't always
It's a
high.
lot of people in Miami that ain't Dolphins fans. It's more Canes fans our age and older than they're all Dolphins fans. Maybe if you're talking about people of the 70s, maybe, but I can't. Y'all don't even have as many grown Miami Dolphins fans.
Now,
Man,
Philly fans hate their team. Like if they lose today, they'll still call it a shitty season, like NFC Championship season. When they lost to Brady in the Super Bowl, they called it. They were shitting on their team, shitting on McNabb, which they should have
I was
rightfully
gonna say I
so.
don't blame him for that.
But
That last
No,
drive was
no one
terrible.
blames. No
they
one blames
they
him for that.
they threw snowballs at Santa Claus. Like this is just a shitty ass team overall with a lot of talent. But I unfortunately I'm with you guys, man. I do feel like Philly is going to win this game, unfortunately. Um it could be a long day though. The one thing that VP, we've said it all year. If a defense would just figure out that Jalen Hurts has legs. Not that he can run fast, just the fact that this guy has legs, because every team that seems to be playing Philly this year, besides the Cowboys and Washington, their two losses, well, they had a couple more, but those two are the probably most relevant ones. Everyone forgot that this guy has legs. Like
Yeah,
on critical plays, like third and short, and this guy runs for 17 yards.
yeah. I think we talk a lot about coaching, and it kind of reminds me of when we talk about like coaches outsmarting themselves, right? Oh, we're going into this game, and this team is the worst ranked run defense, so we're gonna just pass the ball because they're gonna expect us to run. And
Mm-hmm.
it's it seems like it's that with Jalen Hurts, where teams go in saying, they know that we know he can run, so they're
Right.
not going to run it. They know we're going to expect that.
Right. Let's stop AJ Brown. Let's stop AJ Brown and make him beat us with his legs. Well,
That's
guess what?
three guys on AJ Brown, because I think they
But
literally did that at one point.
the problem with San Fran, I think today is you can pass on that defense. Like Seattle showed that you can pass on that defense, especially if you have a guy that can go deep. Pause. The Cowboys showed that, but they only went deep once. you know, effectively. They've tried to go deep with Gallup, and Gallup is just not that guy. They should not have paid him. They should have let him go, especially after the injury. They should have held on to Cooper because we didn't turn that money into anything. So, but yeah, you can pass on that team, and they have some good wide receivers. When you got AJ Brown on one side, Smith on the other side, like it could be a long day for them. But I also can see that linebacker play being huge because Jalen Hurts might be contained, and when you contain him and you make him make those closed windows throws, just like Dak, he can make some mistakes. So I could see it going either way, but on paper, I think the Eagles win because they have star-studded cornerbacks. I think they have I think they'll have a problem with Debo though. I don't think they have the linebacker play to stop Debo out the backfield, which is what we did. We just had Parsons kind of come off the ball and play Debo out of the backfield, and it helped out significantly. I don't think they have that.
Uh, the only way Philly loses this game is if the Jalen Hurts I remember from Alabama emerges. The guy that chokes on the big stage. But so far, man, he's to his credit, going to Oklahoma. I don't know if that made a difference, but no one can take away that this guy doesn't work hard. And he's a soldier, man. He works hard. And I tell you what, if they advance and he plays good, we have to start talking about I don't something about him. I don't know what, but I'm looking for him to choke like he did at Alabama. Alabama, when the big game came, he just seemingly always disappeared. And he'll get him there. He'll be like the regular season guy. He'll get him there, and then come that championship game, he just disappeared. And that's where Tua came from. When that defense schemed and they knew what he was gonna do, Tua came in, was a wild card, and he never looked back. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see, but I think Philly, we underestimate their defense. Hassan Reddick, that defense. I think they got like 10 guys that have like 5 sacks or some shit like that. Some wild
Mhm.
shit. So this is a time. It might get ugly for San Fran today. It might get ugly for Brock Purdy today.
Push him left. You got to push him left.
They gave that San Fran O line way too much credit for how they did Micah Parsons. It was not one-on-one blocking schemes. It was not Micah Parsons. I don't think I remember a game seeing a guy getting chipped this much since J.J. Watt first came in the league.
Yeah.
This
And that's
dude,
why Demarcus Lawrence had a big game. And I told you guys Demarcus Lawrence had to have a big game. And he did. He sure enough showed the fuck up. But he was also on the run. Michael Parsons was always there, even though they were doubling him and chipping him out of the backfield. Like he was still always there. And Brock Purdy was on the run, running for his life. But I like the Philly defense. I think they have some. I mean, obviously, I think they had the most sacks this season, or tied for the most sacks. Cowboys had the most takeaways. Like, you know, from a defensive standpoint, you probably have two of the best defense. San Fran, I think, from a point standpoint, had the lowest allowed. So you got two of the best defenses going at it today. Um,
and
with a
that always works in the home team's favor.
Yeah, and with a very high-powered offense on the other side of it. I think the key for them to win today, to me, is they have to find a way to get Miles Sanders going, which is the same, because I think it's going to be a low scoring game.
Yeah, and on Michael Parsons, real quick, which I was talking about, that just comes back to coaching, right? The one side said, "Hey, number 11 on the other side, he's really good, and we don't have anybody who can defend him one on one, so we're gonna scheme for him and chip him and try to cut him and stuff like that, And is it gonna stop him completely? No. Michael Parsons is one of those talents that you don't stop, you just hope to contain, right? Can we give Brock Purdy 1 extra second to throw? Can we make Parsons have to take 2 steps or 3 steps on his way to the quarterback instead of one? Or what, you know what I mean? And that's coaching. But some of these coaches make it seem like this shit is like 5 dimensional intergalactic chess or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I say it all the time, man. These guys refuse to keep it simple, and that is why some of the best coaches They live and die by that. Keep it simple, stupid. We've been doing this all year, and I just it's beyond me, man. It really is. But again, this goes back to what I say about the culture of the league and thought process. These guys get around each other and they say, "No way, you're gonna do what you did for 17 games. No
Hmm.
way, no
Right.
way. You've
They're
got to
gonna
do
know
something
it's
different.
coming.
You got to do something different. It's Battleship. It's Battleship."
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. It's tic tac toe. Why are you gonna start in the middle every time? Well, because I keep beating your ass. That's why.
Right.
Um.
Right.
Okay. All right. And then the other games, or other game, the Bengals and Kansas City, which I think is gonna be. I think this one's gonna be a high scoring game,
I
and
think it's
this one
pretty
is in
clear.
Kansas City this
I think
evening.
it's pretty clear.
What's
Drink
that?
bet $1 million on Kansas City.
Oh, so yeah, Bengals are gonna win this game.
Kiss of death.
Yeah. Damn, Drake, you done fucked them.
He didn't even give it a chance. Like, it's fucked now. It's all gone now. It's all fucked up now. Like Diddy said, it's all fucked up now.
Yeah. We talked about, I think last week, and a lot of people said you would hear about Mahomes' ankle all week. And we haven't heard anybody talking about it. I almost feel like people have forgotten about it when I'm watching, these talking heads. I know the average fan or us, we haven't. But as I'm watching ESPN, I don't see a lot of guys like really saying or pinpointing that this can be a difference maker. That's a high ankle sprain. And we've seen guys with high ankle sprains like that have been out for weeks at a time. And while I think he's going to come back, he'll be more mobile than last week. He's not going to be the Mahomes that he's used to being. And without the Tyreek to stretch the field, and he's been able to stretch the field by extending the play and stuff. He's not going to be able to do that today. And I think it's going to be a long day for Kansas City.
I think part of the reason that you're not hearing the stuff about Mahomes' ankle is that the media has less access to practice than they used to. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, we don't have, like, the only video that we've seen is when they're warming up and you see him make 3 throws and then that's it, and he looked fine in those 3 throws, but it's him with the coach just tossing him the ball, him just, taking his time, pat, 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 throw, so we'll have to see how he warms up today when they come out for pregame warmups and see, is he moving gingerly? You know what I mean? When he
Mm-hmm.
makes that first throw and he has to plant, like, does it seem like it's a problem when he takes that first hit? So I think it's kind of like a watch this space thing for the Mahomes ankle, but it definitely is going to be a factor, I think.
Yeah. I think for other reasons they're gonna have a problem. And one of them is Joe Mixon.
Oh
The
yeah.
combination
Oh
of
yeah.
Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine, they have been able to run the football. And I don't know that Kansas City has any answer for that. And what's the best way to beat an elite quarterback? Keep the ball out
Keep
of his
him off the
hands.
keep him off the field, man.
Oh, I was muted. I was just saying keep him off the
Yeah. So I think we're gonna see Cincinnati come out really early and test the run defense of Kansas City. And if they don't show up, because they're a very bend but not break defense, and they don't show up, I think you're gonna see Joe Mixon with 120 on the ground today.
Yeah, Kansas City has struggled with the run all year, and that's an amazing call out, EJ. I don't think people are expecting that, and people have kind of forgotten, myself included, about Joe Mixon because he's had a down year in comparison to last year because he was just an absolute stud last year. And this year they've kind of been going to the air, and T Higgins has been healthy. They've been eating that way, and Joey B doing what he does. I don't know that Kansas City is going to be able to stop that offense. They're going to have to outshoot the Bengals, and I don't know that that's possible. I don't know that that's possible on a bum ankle. And like VP said, you didn't get a lot of it this week because the ratings are with talking about the Cowboys and Dak. Like, that's really, really reality what it is. Whether we like it or not, whether people like it or not, these fucking talking heads need to get ratings, and there's more people that hate the Cowboys than like Kansas City in this world. So why not talk about them? But yeah, man. So I got the Bengals and the Eagles today. EJ, who you got?
I'm gonna go with the Bengals and the Eagles as well. I mean, shit, Drake, man. I mean, Drake shit hasn't proven us wrong yet, has it? Everybody's
Nah.
is bet on they've lost.
Yeah, Duke.
Drake,
Yeah,
stay out, stay away, man.
no,
Kentucky,
Kentucky.
shit, like
VP.
I mean, maybe Drake's putting out the $1 million bet on Kansas City, and then he's not showing the ticket for 5 mil on the Bengals.
Right. Right. He just hedged the bet real quick.
But nah, I got Philly, and I want to pick Kansas City, man. But Mahomes' ankle, I just can't trust it, so I'm going to make it a sweep.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right. So let's see what else is going on in the world. It seems to have been quiet. I think we've kind of grown numb to police brutality. Like I'm seeing it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm seeing it, but I'm not seeing it, right? And I'm wondering, from you guys' standpoint, do we just get outraged? Do we allow pigmentation to impact our level of outrage? Because we talk about it, and I don't mean we as the three of us, I mean we as our people. We talk about police brutality entirely. We talk about no matter what the race, creed, skin color, like none of that matters to us when we talk about police brutality. We talk about it as a whole. It just seems like in this case, unfortunately, rest in peace to, I don't know how to pronounce the first name. I'm thinking it's Tyree.
Yeah,
It looks like
Tyreek.
it's Tyree. But rest in peace to him. Well wishes to his family. They're gonna eat. They're gonna eat. But it's just I don't see the rage. I don't see the outrage from us in this situation, and I think it's because we see people that look like us that were on the other side of it this time as well, and that's where I think we need to do better.
So I don't think it's only that, right, about being numb. I think part of what happened is that George Floyd um, happens, and it's during COVID. Everybody's on lockdown, right? And you couldn't go anywhere. And the one place you could go is to protest. They didn't have COVID restrictions on. I mean, it's not like they could have. Some of these protests like sparked up spontaneously. You know what I mean? Um, and they were not just national. We had people protesting overseas. International protests. I mean, the Pope spoke out about George Floyd. Um, and so I think it was something that allowed people to get out of the house, and people were just. It was this moment of people saying, this shit has to stop. We got to do something. I can't breathe, and all these other things. And then once COVID started to become somewhat under control, still not, but once we got in a better situation, COVID wise, and people could go back out, they can go to the office, they can go to the club, they can go to the movies, whatever. People just kind of went back to regularly scheduled programming, you know, and the whole racial justice thing and police brutality went back to where it's always been. I wouldn't say all the way to the furthest back burner, but it was still pretty deep back there. But maybe it got moved up one burner, you know,
Mm.
and so and I think that's kind of where we are, where people are not necessarily numb; they're just back to doing whatever it was they were doing before.
I think I don't disagree with either one of you guys. I think it's a little bit of everything, and I think it's you have different levels of people, and when you're speaking of our culture specifically, right? You got the one tier of people that don't value Black lives. Like, just be real. We don't value Black lives. We don't value Black male lives. I work with people daily who glorify being shot, and you hear the conversations that they have with their family, and it's just like, you be good, and yeah, we out here, and you know what I'm saying. So there's an ignorance level there, and they like, and those same people be like, fuck 12, but they'll shoot up their own neighborhood and not be progressive to do anything, right? There, we as a people don't like to talk about those people that exist, but they do. We know them, we're related to them, we don't hold them accountable, right? Then there's a lack of information, because the media, even the most respected outlets, haven't been outraged about this, haven't been, this is all we seeing time and time and time again. For one other thing, the video was just released of the actual incident, and it's so graphic that it may not come on your 6 o'clock news looped over and over again. But whatever the reason may be, our most respected outlets, no matter what other source you look at, they have not been giving it to us like that. Even when you then look at the other side of people that get their info from a podcast, Joe Budden, Math Hoffa, all these other local places that people in whatever class or tier you want to think of get their information from, these podcasters haven't really caught on to it yet, because I think a lot of people have seen the pictures of these guys, and a lot of people didn't even know what the hell was going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, there's another tier of people that could be a part of all of these things. They may not be. They could be very aware. They may be very politically active. They may be very socially active and very conscious. And there's an apathy. There's a feeling of defeat. There's a feeling of trauma. There's a feeling of PTSD. There's a feeling of despair because nothing actually fucking happens. This was a rare case in which we saw swift and decisive action come to these guys. Blue Lives Matter ain't even fighting it because obviously these motherfuckers ain't blue right now. They're black.
Right.
So they can get charged. Nobody gives a fuck. The Memphis chief, black woman, was very decisive on this, spoke about it from the beginning, and the motherfuckers got the business. But overall, when we look at hate crimes and what can happen to the police overall in this nation, we still haven't had the George Floyd bill passed. So there's a sense of apathy sometimes, I think, that says you're going to get outraged, going to tear shit up, but what does that do? Why does it take a Tyree after we had a George? Why does it take a
Yeah.
George after we had an Eric? Why does it take an Eric after we had a Sean? Why does it take a Sean after we had an Abner? Like, why? You know what I mean? So it's for me, who might fall in that third tier, and it's a sense of apathy. It's like, well, shit. Sandra Bland got taken in for bullshit. And we still don't know what the fuck happened. We still don't have no real accountability. What makes it different from me? And you put yourself in Tyree's shoes. He ran away. I mean, what else would he have done other than turn around and shot these guys? And then
Right.
ultimately may have been killed regardless.
Yeah. I'm not, listen, cop or not, you're not going to just stand there and beat my ass and I'm going to just like, I'm gonna just lay there and take it. Like, if there's any way for me to get away from that, that's human nature. That's human fucking nature for you not to just lay there and get kicked in the head and punched and whatever and fucking maced over and over directly in your face. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And these guys were dialed the fuck in, these cops. Because when you listen to it, if you play with the audio on, you hear so much more of him than them. You hear them a little bit, turn the fuck around, do this, do that. But you don't hear a lot of them, but you constantly hear him like, yo, all right, I'm turning over. All right, I'm down. All right, my hands are back. Like, this dude he's narrating this shit basically saying, yo, I'm good. Y'all can stop fucking me up. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, this goes to selective accountability, man. And EJ, you mentioned it really quick, really, really quick. Like, this thing barely made any headlines. And early on in the headlines, they're like, yo, these dudes were charged. They're charged immediately. You
It's
know what I'm
over.
saying? It wasn't. It's not like your average. It's not like the Brock.
Year
You
wait
know,
for the trial,
right?
the social
We
profile, the
we need to
development.
watch. We need to keep watching. Now, granted, this video was very very graphic, and you can come to that conclusion very quickly by looking at this video. But we've seen others that were very graphic. We've seen others that you should have been able to make this type of conclusion. And here's the thing, right? Whatever. Hopefully, this leads to a future of quicker responses like this. Granted, we don't want this to happen, but we know it's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen. We live in a world where people are just desensitized to life. Nobody, we see it on fucking Instagram, Facebook, on the internet every single day. You can go online and you can find a video of somebody getting shot in the face, bleeding out and dying, right? So as people, we are desensitized to death. We're desensitized to the value of a human life. And these same kids and these same teenagers and these same adults that are seeing it are going into these types of roles, whether they're cops, whatever it is, and they're not going to think about what the extreme is. Like, am I being extreme? Can I kill this guy just by punching him? Yes, you absolutely can. You absolutely can.
And this situation here, we talk about this stuff all the time, and on the pod, in the chat. And it's stuff like this is why when I post stuff about police, I always post with a caption that says, this shit can't be reformed, right? You can't reform the police as it is now. It needs to be torn down, root and stem, and then built back up from the beginning. And the reason why I say that is because these cops, when you watch that video, if you watched all of the footage that they released, you see these cops doing classic cop shit, right? They're working on their defense actively as they're violating this dude's rights, as they're beating him, right? Every time they're doing shit, give me your hands, give me your hands. They're holding his hands. It's not like he's flailing around boxing or something like that or whatever. He's on the ground. They're holding his hand. They keep saying, give me your hands, give me your hands. Why? Because if this ever comes up for some kind of assault or some kind of discipline, they're going to say, we didn't have control of him. That's why I'm saying, give me your hands, because he's pulling away. He's doing this. He's doing that. Right. So you literally see them at the end of the video after he's cuffed, and they have him sitting on the side of the car where they're not rendering aid to him. They're over there saying, man, he was so strong. Blah blah. This kid is 140 pounds. They said five grown men against 140 pounds. Like, come on, dude. You know what I mean? But they're saying to each other, making sure the body cam is on, he was so strong. Oh man, I've never encountered anything like that. Oh my goodness, because they're looking towards, man, we just fucked this dude up. And if this ever comes up any kind of discipline, we're gonna come back and say, oh, we were saying he wouldn't give us his hands and do. That's so. And the other thing I want to say to the point that EJ made about the lack of information, right? That is so huge. And the lack of information, I actually don't believe starts with the media, even though they are at fault, right? It starts with the police. The police purposely does not release information, because when you have information, it allows you to have statistics, right? This many people die in car crashes from not wearing seatbelts, and people say, "Oh man, we probably need to make people wear seatbelts," But with police shootings, there is no information, so you can't really gauge how many people are shot each year by cops, right? The numbers that we have are normally from media saying, okay, we saw there was a police reporting of a shooting in Tulsa. Here's one in Kansas City. Here's one in Miami. Here's one in Baltimore, whatever. And the media tries to put these statistics together from newspaper stories, but the police don't just regularly release this information, because if they did, it'll allow people to say, man, this shit is crazy. We need to do something about it, right?
Right.
If I bet you, if CNBC or one of these, business channels called McDonald's and said, hey, how many cheeseburgers do you sell with only mustard and onions? They can give you a number. This is how many we did in 2022.
Isn't that part of the bill that there has to be a national account for that?
for the George Floyd bill.
Yeah.
It what the Democratic side wanted it in there. Tim
Yeah.
Scott, Republican senator from South Carolina, took it out. But then the bill never passed anyway. But
Right.
when
Right.
they were negotiating, that was one of the things that he made them take out.
They'll never give
So,
you that. They'll never give you
so
that.
and that's part of the problem right there, you know.
That's
And
insane.
we've basically in this country we've basically have a tradition now where every month, in this case, you know, sometimes every week, we are going to be a witness to mass murder, you know, with gun violence, and then every couple of months, you know, every 6 months or so, we're going to have black people killed by police, and it seems like that's like our national tradition at this point, and the shit is fucked up, man.
Yeah, this situation is just a little. It's to me, it's more frustrating, and it's it's different because while yes, it was a black man, it was other black men that fucked him up and killed him. Like that's the part that fucks me up with this one. Like we can't put this on nobody else. As people, we can't say, "Yo, white people out there killing us. White cops out there killing us after this one." This one is us beating on us. This is cops being bad fucking people. And to your point, VP, you said it in the chat. Everyone talks about not all cops are bad cops. Where are the fucking good cops when the bad cops are going bad? This is five. This is five cops, and all five of them were bad.
They can't keep saying that. Oh, it wasn't protocol that, like, and to your point, Stephen, I think you made a valid point in having a generational disregard for life. Like, I've been in fights growing up, right? As you know, and I've been on the scene where I seen dudes get jumped, stabbed, cut myself. There was still a regard and a responsibility. There were very few people that were like just savages. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and they weren't always in control. You know what I mean? You always had that OG presence. One of the best fighters in my age group from my neighborhood, also named Steve, right? Steve was always the voice of reason when something went too far. And he was that guy that people listened to because he would beat your ass, right? Steve would be like, "No, you hit him with the bat already. It's good. Don't keep beating him." I think people today really don't realize you can't just swing on somebody. You can't just turn up all the time. Something is gonna happen. And when these dudes are whooping this dude ass who looks like him, I can't see how any way in their mind did they even conceive the fact they might kill him.
Right.
And I think this,
Well,
this generation doesn't even realize you can beat somebody to death. I don't know how old these guys are, on average, but I think that element of what you're talking about, the world starter, I can't. I don't even like watching fight videos no more. I don't get nothing from it. If it
no.
ain't a combat sport, MMA, boxing, I barely can do it.
But part of it too, though, to Steve's point about the cops being black, is that when you're in these institutions, you don't see yourself as being black. They're blue,
Not
right? It's
until
kind of
now.
it's
Not
kind of
until
like yeah,
now.
no,
Yeah.
until
Until
it's
it's time for accountability.
until it's
Right.
accountability time.
You black now,
But
nigga.
you know, it's kind of like we used to say, like in when I
What
was in
Jay
the
Z say?
Marines,
Still
when
nigga.
I was in the Marines, like we weren't black and white, we're all green. You know what I mean? And that's how cops see themselves. They don't see themselves as black and white; they're all blue. And I bet you, if there are statistics somewhere, the statistics would bear out that when black people have interaction with the white police versus a black police, they may be treated somewhat better, but I'm pretty sure it's not by like some huge margin. You know what I mean? Um, but that's one. Two, to EJ's point, when you see them beating this dude, the reason you see them doing that, not having no regard for his life, is because they've done it before.
Mm-hmm.
This ain't the first beating they've given out, you
No,
know.
you're right.
And
You're right.
so for them, this shit seems normal. When the dude, you know, they're so wild, they end up pepper spraying themselves. He's over there like, oh shit, my eyes, da, da, da. You keep hearing, give me your hand, give me your hands. He comes back, Fuck it. He pulls out the baton. Watch out, I got him. And he starts beating the dude with the baton. The other dude who casually walks up and just kicks him in the face. You know what I mean? They're doing this shit because they've done it before. You know, and what's really crazy about this shit is that though I don't know if you guys caught this in the reporting about this story, is that and when you watched when they released the first video is of the initial traffic stop. The guys who beat him aren't the guys who did the traffic stop.
Right.
And these dudes who beat him are a part of some unit, something called a Scorpion unit, which is supposed to be like a highly specialized unit that deals in like homicide and shit like that or whatever, right? So you would assume that the highly specialized officers are the ones that got a little bit more rank, they got a little bit more experience and things like that,
Tact and
right?
Right.
patience.
And
No,
and when the first guy kicks him in the face, you don't hear anybody say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, chill out, guys. Let's get him cuffed." You know, that's unnecessary. When the dude's like, hold up," pulls out the baton and he's whooping him. You don't see somebody like, "Yo, Eddie, chill, calm down." You know, they're all with it
Hmm.
because this is the shit that they do, and that's why I say you can't reform this shit. Because when we talk about training, I'm pretty sure, and EJ probably can speak to this more than I can. I'm pretty sure the training is by the book. This is how you handle a suspect when he's resisting. This is when you should deploy a taser. This is when you should pull your weapon. You know, if you have to use your hands, this is how you should do it. Whoop, 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 right? And then when they get on the street with the field training officer is Denzel in Training Day. You'll throw all that academy shit out the window. This is
Right.
how you do it on the
You got to
street.
make it home to your kids tonight. No
Right.
matter what. There's 5 of us, but you got to make it home to your kids. Listen, man. You want to talk of statistics? You want to talk numbers? You talk about not all cops are bad. Well, less than 20% of the cops are bad because that's 5, right? And not 1 in 5 stop that shit. So 1 in 5 is 20%. That means 19% or less of the cops in this world, based on what we just saw, are good cops.
Yeah.
fam, and you know what, man, and VP, you know, both of you guys are spot on. VP spoke to the all green and the all blue mentality, and Steve talks about this all the time about certain law enforcement people, not all, certain, about being cowards and being those people that were less than or you know bullied by society, because for you to want to harm someone who looks like you for nothing as bad as they did, you hate yourself. There's a level of self-hatred that's just like incredible. Like when I watch a video of a sporting event and I watch black guys get into it with another culture, there's something innately in me that's mad. Like y'all jumping on this dude because he's black. You know what I mean? There's an element of that. For you to be an officer of the law, supposedly making a difference for your people, for you to just whoop on a dude for a DUI stop, a potential DUI stop, you're a fucked up individual.
Yeah.
And you're a piece of shit. And
Yeah.
black or not, you hate yourself. I mean, specifically even more that you're a black man. You hate yourself. I mean, there
And
should have been
and
no reason for them. It's I don't know.
and let's not let that hang out there. It wasn't a potential DUI stop. It was allegedly a reckless driving. And the police chief has said in numerous interviews they still haven't found evidence of a need to even stop this kid, which sounds to me like it was some profiling shit. It's at night. Here's this black kid. Let's pull him over and see what happens. You know what I mean? And when you see that first video, they pull him over, and as soon as they approach the vehicle, it's no, "Hey, how you doing tonight, sir? Do you know why I stopped you? I'm officer. You know, blah blah blah. You know how normal stop goes. The car stops, and they run up, get out of the fucking car. Blah 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 blah. Blah. It
Hmm.
just goes from 0 to 100 like instantly. You know what I mean? And he, like Steve said, he's the one is the he's like, yo, y'all doing the most. Yo, chill. I'm on the ground. You know, and they're just and the shit is insane how escalated it was from their standpoint.
Well, how do you as a black male, right? A black male, can't even just say a black male, but a black person in this country. How when are the leaders of this nation gonna realize that VP is largely right because I don't know that you can tear down an ideal, an ideology, a culture that is ingrained in the fabric of this nation that's been over 200 years. I don't know how that works. I'm not gonna say I don't know that you can. I don't know how you would. I don't know, but as a black person in this nation, how do you now believe in your mind that you can trust the police in any way, shape, or form? I mean, I just keep because for me, I just always put myself as much as I can in the victim's shoes. If I'm getting pulled over by five black dudes, or not even pulled over by them, but now confronted by these five black dudes in uniform, I'm thinking, shit, about time y'all motherfuckers got here. God damn, these motherfuckers was tripping, man. How do you go on? How do you go on trusting the police that if you like we said it before that if you get stopped for some bullshit that you gonna go home?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was watching the Kaepernick thing again on Netflix, and he talks about he put. I mean, and first of all, his parents were trash. His adoptive parents fucking utter trash, trash. I'm sorry, but he gets pulled over while driving them in a car, and the cop, the trooper, pulls is reaching for the weapon on him, and it's just like how like we're it was a routine stop. Like what happens? Like how do I just don't know. I don't know. It's scary. I really don't
Yeah,
know.
it definitely is, man. I watched you know, I watch this YouTube channel where the dude like he like reviews police encounters, and then he talks about like this is what the law is in that state on this thing, blah 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 blah, the kind of shit like that, right? And they had a dude that was actually pulled over in Baltimore, black guy. He's like a weapons instructor, and he gets pulled over for illegal tags. He didn't have no. I think his registration was out of date or something like that. The dude got two guns on his chest, one on his hip. He got stuff in the back seat and a bunch of guns in the trunk. One of the best traffic stops I've ever seen. The dude is like, "Yo, I see you. You see, I got it on me. I'm gonna keep my hands right here." The officer's like, "Yeah, no problem." White dude, and he's like, "I know y'all pulled me over for the tag. You don't even gotta tell me." He was like, "I'm taking the car up the street. It's going to get repaired, and then I'm transferring everything out of this car into my car. I know that's why you pulled me over. So and so they check his license, and then they was like, listen, man, we understand that you got permits to carry all this stuff, but just for our safety, we want to disarm you." And they're like, oh, he was like, yeah, no problem. He steps out of the car, everything's on camera. They take the guns off of him, put him on the car, have him come back to their car so he's away from the guns. They continue talking, do 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 do. Thing ends. They don't even give him a ticket. They just tell him, "Yo, if you say you want to roll, go ahead and do that. Da da da. But just be careful out there." And everything ends. And it's like every traffic stop. For a black person, yeah, you're thinking it could be an execution. You know what I mean? But this shit doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah, and it's just for me. Where do we go from here? When do we really we talk about things that plague this nation, things that affect the fabric of this nation, the people of this nation. When does this become a problem for everyone? When? Because I don't see the disparity or the frequency or the currents happening for other ethnicities, other cultures. And
Mhm.
not saying that it strictly happens to us, but this stuff is egregious, man. Like I'm afraid. I'm
Yeah,
afraid to go out there and interact with these people in uniform.
yeah,
And we've seen historically off duty people get hurt. So you can't even say it doesn't happen to them.
hmm yeah.
Where are we safe?
And and until I mean, this shit has to happen naturally. It has to happen at the state level. Have to happen at the city level. But we got to do something, and that's the thing is that we don't ever do anything. These kind of these things happen, and then they get wrapped up in the politics and stuff like that, and then they become talking points. One side is for standing with the police. The other side wants to defund the police, and one side cares about the one side is tough on crime, the other side is not tough on crime, that kind of thing like that. And people try to use these things for you know election advantage, and then we just end up having a stalemate, and we stay right where we are. It's it's basically like it's like one of those cycles. Police brutality happens, everybody's outraged. We got to do something. Yeah, let's do something. Let's negotiate on something. Nothing happens, and then we reset.
Yeah, just to put it into perspective, I'm more outrage about Kyrie Irving and more outrage about Kanye West than about this man getting killed on TV on videos that we've seen. So to do with that what you will. Not saying one is more important than the other. Not saying one is better or worse, but
And I will say the police was right about this. I remember I said in the chat to Steve, "Yo, they I don't know why they're releasing this thing on a Friday night. Like they're asking for trouble, you know." And
yep.
um, one of the police or one of the media people asked the police about that, and they said, "We've seen the video, and based on what we've seen, we don't think it matters when we release it
Yeah, it's gonna be rage no
because
matter what." But
it's that bad."
yeah, yeah. But I mean, they also don't care because what they gonna do? What you
Bust
gonna
some
do?
more heads.
Right. That's right.
Bust
Give
some
me the
more
reason.
heads.
We gonna lock y'all ass up Friday night, beat the shit out of you. You're not seeing the judge till Monday. So go
Hmm.
ahead if you will. That's what they
Right.
thinking.
We
And also,
And it's Memphis. Like it's Tennessee. So you got some portions of Tennessee that are highly populated with melanated individuals. But
Memphis is one of
but
them.
for the most part, Tennessee is Trump City, Trump Town, sorry. And while there's some frustrated individuals, it's not nearly as much as if it was some other places.
Now they'll go in Memphis as well, but again, whether it's 20,000, 2,000, however 200 people, they just gonna bust heads. And
mhm,
like VP said, and like I said, leading it off, the apathy sets in of how long are we gonna keep having to do this shit till it's the next kid. And I think the thing that we also that as the culture, if we speaking about the culture, we have adopted this Western capitalistic society. Well, it ain't me. I feel bad for that brother, but it ain't me, but it could be you. And
mhm,
that's the thing that if we really thought about it, it's the same reason why people don't give a shit about causes. They don't care about handicap. They don't care about homeless people. They don't care because it ain't me, right? But it could be you. I'm pretty sure this cat didn't think he was gonna be the victim of this. And
Yeah,
we see it. We see it doesn't matter whether you have a degree or not. Sandra Bland is a college graduate or at least attendee.
yeah.
So
This country is the ghetto, man. This country is turning into the hood. Homelessness is at an all time high, and people are in bad places right now. Like between inflation, from these corporations trying to get back from COVID and all of that, like borderline fucking layoffs are crazy, borderline recession again, and the stress is what I think is causing horrible decisions, and everyone feels it. And that could be also what's translating into some of these people, and we always say it. Listen, in the line of duty that these cops are in, when especially if they're out on in the field, they need to be brought in every 90 days or every 6 months, and they need to go through some type of testing to confirm their mental stability. Like that needs to happen. And if it's not happening, then you're going to continue to see this.
mhm. And real quick, just for housekeeping, the Memphis police actually disbanded that Scorpion unit. They announced
I saw that.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And then this is the thing that kills me with
damage control for the investigation on the other 150 reports on that unit. Go ahead, VP.
mhm. But here's the thing that kills me. Like, you name the unit Scorpion, right? And Scorpion stands for Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. Like, why would you like you even give them this aggressive sounding ass name for something that's supposed to restore peace?
Peace.
Which this unit,
I ain't never seen a scorpion be in a peaceful manner as an
right,
animal, like as
right.
an insect, whatever it is.
And what's wild is that the unit wasn't started until 2021 in response to the murder of George Floyd.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So, well, rest in peace to young man. Well wishes to his family. It's an unfortunate situation.
It's
Yo, Publix
fucked up.
has no eggs, dog. Publix is out of eggs today.
Mm.
Eggs are like $7 right now.
How it's $7.99. Yo, how do we not see this coming when what you laughing at?
Shit.
How do we not
Eggs are high as fuck.
Yeah, eggs are crazy. I need to get some chickens. But how did we not see this coming in last year when they told us there was a shortage of chicken wings?
I don't know, dog. This shit is crazy. I mean, it's people slinging eggs out their car right now, bro.
Yeah, I'm about to do that. I'm about to do that.
I
I'm about to
mean,
duck.
it's I posted it in the chat. I don't know if y'all saw it when I did. It was like a week ago or so. This girl posted a video. I guess she keeps like hens, and she probably came. It's probably like feeding time. And so she comes out, so all the hens like run up to the porch or whatever, and she's like, "Ladies, gather around." She was like, "I know it's been cold. I know egg production has been low." She was like, "But you see this?" And then she holds out a carton of eggs. She was like, "I just had to pay $8 for this." She's like, "This cannot happen again. If this does happen again, there's gonna be consequences. Bitches are going in the air fryer."
Yo, this shit is insane, bro.
Yeah.
That's we got the gas, right? But now eggs are high.
Yeah, I mean, but there's nothing that we can really do about that. Like, part of the reason why there's an egg shortage is that there was an outbreak of bird flu amongst chicken population. So the USDA, or I don't know if it's USDA or Department of Agriculture, whichever one oversees birds, but they require when outbreaks like that happen, like that entire like population basically has to just be put down. They slaughtered, they throw away they don't use the meat, they don't use the eggs or anything like that. And so you've had like full chicken coops or whatever they keep the mass production chickens in, just basically slaughtered and thrown out or whatever. And so it's created a shortage, which has made egg prices skyrocket basically.
Listen, there's one reason why there's a shortage of eggs, and it's motherfucking Joe Biden. That is why. It's Joe Biden's fault. The farmers went broke because they can't pay their student loans that they took out that they failed out of college.
They went to farmer school.
They went to college, failed out of college, got student loans, became farmers because they couldn't find a job because they didn't have a degree. And now, because they have to pay that money back, there's a shortage of farmers.
Well, IHOP's price didn't go up. So what eggs are they using?
With most IHOPs use carton eggs.
Yeah. Like I eat egg whites, so there's no shortage for me. I'm good.
Yeah. Like if you go to IHOP, if you want real eggs, you have to tell them you want real eggs, and there's usually an upcharge for it.
Yeah. I get the real eggs. Them shits is like the same price, like the same upcharge. So I don't know. They must be getting their eggs from Ukraine. No.
Yeah.
No, too soon. My bad.
Well, the money for the eggs went to Ukraine because Joe Biden took all the money that we were spending for chickens and sent it to Ukraine.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so your boy LeBron James, man, VP, he had a little meltdown last night. Listen, this dude been bitching. He been bitching about the refs all season. Dog, you getting old.
He wasn't wrong though.
And there's listen, no,
He wasn't wrong. It was a foul. It was like
Yeah,
obvious. But
the theatrics afterwards, was overboard, right? But I think it's somewhat good that LeBron is doing this. I think LeBron in the last, let's call it 5 years or so, um, I would say at least since he's been with the Lakers. I don't know if it's been 5 years with that. I think LeBron is realizing he's at a stage in his career where he's like above the league and he can say things and do things that other players can't, you know. And I'm pretty sure he's still going to get fined for criticizing the refs. Don't get me wrong, but whereas other players are hesitant to do these kind of things, he's calling it out, and then he's also at a level to where he can do this and then not get the Allen Iverson treatment on the back end. You know, remember when what's his name, Donahue, the one
yeah,
yeah,
with the gambling?
Donahue. Yeah.
He talked about how when AI criticized the ref that next game, they basically was not calling fouls for him on purpose. You know what I mean? And they're not gonna do that to LeBron. The league won't allow it. And so I think he's right to do it because we've been saying it for years now that the refereeing in not just the NBA, the NFL. You guys watch baseball more than me, so I'm pretty sure it's probably the same in the baseball umpires. The shit, it seems like it gets worse every year,
But I've
and
I've always gone on record to say of all of the major professional sports, the NBA is by far the worst.
yeah,
And the one that should have the least struggle with calling a game.
yeah, and so I think it's good that he calls attention to it, but sometimes with the laying out on the court and all that
dog.
shit, that shit is just
He
too
went
much.
he went down on his knees like it was game 7 and he just played all 48 minutes. Like, I'm tired. I'm tired. Like, get the fuck out of here,
He
dog.
took the
You got
ceiling color purple position.
dog, you right. You got tapped on your fucking forearm. Was it a foul? Yeah, but all of that, then to come out and lose, like if you're going to do all of that, come out and channel all that anger and win. But like, and here's the thing, right? I think it's okay to bitch about it, and I actually commend players that do. But he been doing it all season, and he's been doing it unrealistic at times. Like this dude, and one time this season was like, "Well, I guess I got to learn how to flop." Nigga, you nigga, the fuck, you need to learn how to flop. Shit, don't get much better. Don't get much better. Last night was a missed play. It was a missed foul, but it's almost like the Hail Mary, right? Hail Mary, there is pass interference on probably 80 to 90% of those. But you're not gonna get that call. Like if they knocked you down, you're a big guy. If they knock you down, that's different. But it was definitely foul. It altered the shot, and the NBA even came out and said there was a missed call. But we always say, and I've always said it, like I hate that for leagues
Hmm.
because now what? Now what? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
what was the point of that? Yeah. So LeBron had it. And then so they interviewed him, and he's like, it's been like this all season, and they're like, well, you're gonna talk to, you're gonna have any conversations with the league, or you're gonna ask your team to have any conversation with the league, or anything like that, something like that. And he's like, for what? It ain't gonna change shit. Like, nigga, grow up. Grow up. You're not supposed to act like me. Like I could act like that with the Cowboys. You sitting there and making millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. You've won. You've been on the other side of not getting that call called on you. You need to understand, like, yo, you can be frustrated, you can be angry, but to be there pouting and jumping up and down on an away court at that, like, oh my
That
god.
that shit was funny though when you said this nigga said I guess I need to learn. What? That shit. I couldn't with that guy, yo.
Right. What you mean you need to learn? Oh, did y'all see the back and forth with KD and Shaq
That shit was funny.
No.
while we on basketball?
That
Uh
shit was funny.
Shaq was like, I don't know who Hachimura,
Hachimura.
which is a guy that just got traded from Washington to the Lakers. He goes to the Lakers. Shaq is like, yo, he tweets and says, I don't even know who this guy is. If you're not in the top 10 or 20, I don't know who you are, right? Which is a bad thing to say when you're fucking,
Analyst.
when you're an analyst.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a great thing to say. So KD says, KD clapped back and was like, Shaq don't know about basketball? Question mark, right? And Shaq said, you know what I do know about? I do know when I need to brush my hair. I do know how to brush my hair, or or I know when to cut it when I'm balding.
KD took it on the chin though. He was like, "Yo, I got cooked for asking a question."
Yeah.
Yo, I was crying, yo. I was
Yeah.
crying, yo. Shaq is ignorant, yo. That's
Yo,
that Jersey,
but
yo.
Shaq, just like we were saying with Shannon Sharp, Shaq's one of them dudes who he about that action, and
Yeah.
like always,
Shaq a
one of
wild
the things
boy.
I remember is I remember they were doing they were on the show with Barkley and EJ and all of that, Kenny, and they were talking about like their rookie season, like how they do the rookie hazing, and Charles Barkley was talking about how, I think he said it was, did he say it was Dominique Wilkins? I don't remember who he said it was, but they were like making them carry their bags and like go down. They would be at the away hotel, and they would have Barkley like go down to the restaurant and get them milk and all kind of shit like that, And he was like, "Yeah, you gotta do that kind of stuff when you're a rookie or whatever." And Shaq was like, "I never did that shit."
Not me.
And then they were
Not
like,
me.
"You didn't do that, Shaq?" And he was like, "Nah, man. Like they came around, I'm like, hey, carry my badge, Rook." He was like, "Yo, I'm a franchise player. I ain't here for that kind of shit."
Right. Yeah. Y'all seen Blue Chips? They went and got Shaq.
Yo, that nigga Shaq, yo. He's pure comedy, yo.
Yeah, Shaq
Well, I'm a
wild, man.
franchise player. I ain't here for that shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yo.
Shaq is a wild boy, man.
Yeah.
What else is going on, man? Let's see. NFL playoffs. The video came out, VP.
What
The
video?
video came out of Pelosi's husband. I forget his first name.
Oh yeah, Paul Pelosi.
Getting the hammer. Like he from his guy.
That shit was awful, man. That shit was
Yo,
awful.
That's bad, yo. That's bad. Was there audio? Because when I watched it, I didn't hear nothing. There was?
Yeah, there were audio. They
What
the
was
cops,
what was said right before he smacked him?
the cops knock on the door and they're like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then they flash the light, and that's when they see the hammer, and they're like, um, he was like, no. And then he was like, "What's going on?" or whatever. And then you start seeing the dude like trying to pull the hammer away from Paul Pelosi because they're both holding it. And then Paul Pelosi's like, "Hey, hey, hey." And then the guy like snatches it away and just, starts hitting him with it. And that's when the cops like, "Oh shit." And they run in and like grab him or whatever. But I'm wondering, like,
That's a
okay,
lover world, dog. Ain't no way we get. Listen, ain't no way that I came to your house to harm you, and we make it to the door together holding the hammer, dog. Like that is not you telling me he broke in with bad intentions and just happened to allow for him to make it to the door to open the door for the cops.
so
Hand in hand with the hammer.
So from the 911 call, from what has been reported, is that Paul Pelosi surreptitiously or
Was
sneakily
getting the hammer. That's what was happening. He was getting the hammer.
So Paul Pelosi surreptitiously called the police. And so when the police came, they actually didn't know they were coming for like a breaking and entry or assault in progress or whatever. They actually went to do a welfare check because they got this call and they didn't really know like what the fuck was going on.
Oh, right.
So they show up to do a welfare check, and so like you've had people saying why they didn't have their guns drawn already or whatever. You know what I mean? Because they didn't come there for a break-in. They came there for
domestic
a
violence.
welfare check.
A domestic dispute. We heard yelling next door. One of them said, "Get that hammer out of your hands." They was playing hide the household appliance. That's what they
Oh
was
my
playing.
god.
They started out plunger and it led to the hammer and boom boom. Oh, who's that? Is that James? It's about time he got here. Oh, it's the cops.
Oh, this is so bad.
Wow. Wow.
Nah, it was I'm just fucking around. I'm just being a
No, you're
jerk.
not. No, you're not.
Nah, I'm just being a jerk. I'm being a jerk. But I do. It is still a question of mine. Like, without saying things that are bad to say, I know people, and I've heard allegedly that if you ever break into someone's house, first of all, if they're home, the chances of you just
Wait, what?
casually
Are you talking about from the criminal's perspective here?
right. Yeah. So the chance of you casually. My question is, how do you get this guy to go to the door and open the door with you? Like what was this encounter? How did it lead up to? Like if and even if I'm the victim, if you're in my house, we gonna be fighting by that time. I don't think, unless you got a gun in your hand, I don't think we gonna make it to the door casually like that. Like, oh, bing bong, oh, just me and my drawers.
I mean, so one, I don't think you can give it that kind of apples to apples comparison. Paul Pelosi's like 80 something years old, so it's not like he's in like tip top fighting shape to fight this dude off or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
So he's a cougar. He's a male cougar. This guy-
so but also with the whole like with the police being called or whatever,
Oh,
because the
man.
dude says in his interview with the cops after he's arrested that he was waiting for Nancy to come home so he could talk to her or whatever.
Oh,
So
okay. So he thought that maybe that was Nancy ringing the
One of
doorbell.
these
I don't
guys.
know. I don't know if that's what he thought or whatever, but
Oh man.
however they got to the door, um, I mean, the whole situation is just
That's not
crazy.
suspect to you, Vari.
Yeah,
Just
now that you
take
mention it.
yourself out of the Democrat chair just for 2 seconds. And I'm not saying like that they were fucking or nothing.
Impossible.
I know I did make that joke that they were, but just take yourself out of and go to reality for a second and just say, how do they casually, and then they open the door and it's not even a struggle at the time of the door being open. Like, that's like, to just open the door like, oh, we got guests. Like, that's weird to me. That is weird
So,
to me.
a couple things, right? One, the dude broke in. There's video of him breaking in. You see him breaking the glass with the hammer or whatever.
Breaking his
To break
ass
into
with
the
his hammer. I just wanted to make sure the caption was right when someone uses the closed caption.
Oh my god.
All right, go ahead. He broke
So
in. He broke the glass with the hammer.
the dude breaks in, right? And
There's video of that, or that's the
yeah,
story. Okay.
there's video of the break-in. You see him
Okay.
at the how do I want to say this to not elicit a joke? You can see him
At the point of impact.
at the entrance of the
Point of
home
entry.
that is the opposite of the front. I don't know how to say this without getting too long.
Oh, he broke in the back door. Okay. All right.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
But yeah, so you see him break in, right? Mind you, it's like, I think they said it was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean?
Right.
So dude probably was asleep. There's also because from what the police have said is that Paul Pelosi said he doesn't remember much of the encounter. I mean, the dude got bashed in the head a couple times with a hammer.
Right.
So how they got to the door, that part is not clear at this point. I get what you're saying or whatever, but the dude broke in. He told the cops he broke in. He said, look, I broke in. These Democrats have been lying for years, and I wanted to talk to Nancy Pelosi, and if she just admitted to the crimes that she's done, I was gonna leave. You know,
Oh,
so
so this guy's mentally unstable.
he's basically telling you that, I came there to get Nancy or whatever, and if she admitted to the crimes, I was gonna leave. Which that kind of person, no matter what she would have said, it wasn't like he was gonna be like, okay, I'm glad you said it. I'm at peace now. I can leave.
But her
trying to get
detail,
them
her detail would have aired that nigga out.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
was trying to get
and that's
them.
the
He
thing
was
too,
trying to
is
get them
that
hangers.
when she's not there, like when she's not there, there's no security on the house or whatever. And then that just goes to also,
Man.
they were saying that the Capitol Police back in DC actually has a live feed of her house that they can see in DC from San Francisco. And the person who monitors that feed didn't even know anything was happening until they saw all the flashing lights around the house. And then they backed up the tape and was like, oh shit, there's a dude breaking in
You gotta
20
be
minutes
shitting
ago.
me. You have got to be shitting me on that one.
No,
That's
I shit
crazy.
you not. They literally have a
Wow.
live feed on the house, and the person who was monitoring, I guess, if it's 1 o'clock in the morning in San Francisco, it's 4 o'clock in the morning in DC. So the person like, we get this nap in. It's overnight,
Or this is or it's facial recognition, and they've seen this
Oh
gentleman
my
there
god.
many times at 1 o'clock in the morning while Sister Nancy was out.
Sister Nancy is nasty. Yo.
It's crazy. Like, just opening the, like, when I saw the video, I was like, "There's no way, dog." Like, maybe this guy. It had to be, to me, right? And this is taking all the jokes out of it. This guy had to be 100% unstable. Clearly, most people that would think that or do that are usually going to be, they're going to be battling with something. But for you've just broken the law, broke into someone's house, and you just open the door, even whether you knew or that it wasn't the cops. Like, the doorbell rings and you open the door casually. That's crazy. That's just crazy time to me. This guy is bonkers. He is out of it. He's got no marbles left. No marbles. And then and maybe he did it, and he'll probably get off because, not off, but he'll get off. See what I did there? He'll probably beat it. Oh, that doesn't work either. He'll probably get away with it a little bit, with a lessened sentence, because whoever represents him will absolutely go for, like, mental, whatever you call it,
Instability.
instability.
Yo, Sister Nancy is dead. That's nasty, yo. That is funny. Sister Nancy. Oh man.
Nancy. Man, it was bad though. Like, I was watching it, and when he got hammered, like when he got slammed in the head, I was like, oh, like, this dude truly cocked back and hit him hard. Like,
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
he didn't
But
die at 80 years old is beyond me. Maybe he missed him with the head and just caught
well,
him.
he got him in the head. He ended up having to have brain surgery.
No, I
Jeez.
mean, the head of the hammer. Like,
Oh, okay.
maybe he caught him with, like, the handle, because dude, I'm surprised he ain't die. Like, that's bad, yo.
Yeah.
And this situation with Paul Pelosi also, though, kind of connects back to the conversation on policing overall, right? Because we've seen black people with a cell phone in their hand,
Yeah.
with nothing in their hand,
Yeah.
and cops are like on 10 off the rip. These dudes open the door, even though you don't know what's going on, there's a hammer, right? And they're just
Yeah.
casual, hey, why don't you put the hammer down, man? You know what's going on, or whatever. You know what I mean? And even when they start to struggle for the hammer, it happens quick, right? But there's still no reaction until the dude actually goes to take the first swing, and then the cops react. You know what I mean? I feel like if those were black people, they'd open the door and saw the hammer, and guns would have been drawn. Put the fucking hammer down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this again just kind of shows you the disparity in policing.
Yeah. Or they think like me, like, oh, he's standing in his drawers. It's Holly. Like, this is California, not Hollywood, but this is California. Like, it's
Just
wild.
stop.
San Francisco.
Just stop, yo. Stop.
I'm just saying, it's wild. I'm saying from the cop standpoint, like, they get there, they see a guy in his drawers, a guy holding a hammer, they probably thinking, "Oh, all right, our bad. Back to what you're doing." Like it's California.
They
It's
thought they were role
California.
playing.
I don't
But
know.
not only that, right? To like EJ's point when he says you got to be shitting me about they have a live feed and nobody's actually even monitoring this shit, right?
Yeah, that's
But
terrible.
if you're the cops, I get it that everybody's supposed to be treated equally, right? But you have a person who is second in line to the presidency who lives in your city. When that address comes up as the address the call is going to, how come this doesn't alert anybody that, hey, this isn't just a normal address?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially and not only that, but especially in today's society,
Right.
right? Where politics is at an all-time high of like violence and hatred amongst individuals, you would think, yo, that's the Pelosi house. We need to have some fucking level of urgency here.
No, that gets me thinking because I forget what city it was. Remember VP? I was saying how the president's motorcade looked a little light to me. Like even though it was a lot of cars, but like when they rounded the corner, like a lot of his detail was like 50 to 100 yards back, and I was
Mhm.
just like that shit was kind of weird to me because it's like I felt like it would be more to that.
Mhm.
And the local police presence, I felt like it would be more to that. Um, shit. I mean, we forget we live in a nation where our fucking president was shot in the fucking head and assassinated
Right.
at one point.
So
So
that actually depends on like how the president's traveling. Like if they're doing like an official trip, the motorcade is probably going to be, like 30, 35 cars deep. Because they got the police presence, all that stuff like that. When they do OTRs, which stands for like an off the record thing, which they already know that they were going, they just didn't release it to the press or whatever. The police presence and the motorcade itself is slimmed down a little bit. You don't see like all the extra police like on motorcycles and blocking off streets and shit like
yeah,
that. Or whatever.
no,
So
I was
you could
talking
have
the
been,
official one. It was the official
oh,
one. It was a lot of cars. It just seemed like from when the the president's vehicle, the initial escorts, it just seemed weird. It just seemed like all of the detail was like really far behind. And
gotcha.
I know that car is built for a lot, but it's just like it just struck me as interesting, just to Steve's point with the little baby militias that have been out here wilding out. It's just like
Right.
seemed a little just weird, like
Right.
odd.
Gotcha.
And speaking to that point, I mean, to your point, this is the Speaker of the House, right?
Hmm.
This is
At
her
the time, at the
Time.
crib.
time,
At the
This
time,
is
yeah.
this is her crib. Like, like, yeah, I mean, like, dog, like, SWAT should have been kicking down the door.
Yeah. Unless they probably thought maybe, well, this guy, like VP said, there was no call, right? It was just 911 and they're like, we should go check it out, right? Is that what happened?
yeah. So
So,
like the 911, it was one of those things. Like you ever seen those videos? Those like the oh my god. Um, like
But
those domestic situations where like a person will call 911 and be
and they
like, "Hey,
hang
I
up.
need to order a pizza," and the person's like,
oh,
"What?"
yeah.
And then the person's like, "I want pepperoni," and then the 911 operator catches on. It's like, "Are you in danger?" And they're like, "Yeah," you know, "Yeah, I
Oh,
want
okay.
express delivery." So it wasn't in that same vein where he's saying I want a pizza or whatever, but like he's not talking like directly to the 911 operator. He's not speaking to exactly what's going on, and the 911 operator, I guess, doesn't get it, and so they send somebody out there, not saying like, "Hey, I think this person's a danger." They're saying, "Hey, we need to do a welfare check on that guy." It's
Hmm.
Yeah,
kind
but
of
I mean,
weird call.
the
He
address
might
still,
he might be drugged up.
the address still though should be alarming to you. Like
And
this
that,
is
that was my
Yeah.
thing. It's
potentially the
like,
fate of national security. Like,
right when
Yeah.
the person when they said, "Okay, where are you at?" and he says 123 Main Street, when they plug that in, something should come up in the system saying, "Yo, that's the Speaker of the House's crib. We
Right.
need to get everybody over there."
Red flag house.
red
Red
flag.
red
Yeah,
red flag address, no doubt.
Exactly.
No doubt. Yeah, that watching the video, I had a lot of questions about it, but the one thing that was clear is that he got hit hard, and I'm glad he made it through it because that should look like I'm like I said, man, I'm surprised he took that. Like I would think someone might die if they get hit in the head with a hammer
Yeah.
like that. So
And then
with
when you
that kind of
see
swing,
And when you see the extended video, because the media only really shows like the hit and then the cops like grabbing them and they cut the video off. But
yeah,
when you watch the longer version of it, you act the whole time they're trying to get dude cuffed. You just see Paul
he's
Pelosi.
swinging, right?
No. So he swings. You see the first swing, and I'm sure there probably was like a second, possibly a third swing because the cops get in there pretty quickly. They
Yeah,
tackle the dude and they're trying to get his hands to cuff him. And so the one dude, they're holding him. The dude gets on his radio and he's like, "Yo, send back up," blah blah blah. And then he's like, "Give me your fucking hand or whatever." And then the dude is like resisting them and shit. And then I guess that's when the cop notices Paul Pelosi is just laying on the floor motionless. And he gets back on the radio and was like, "Yo, send back up. Also need EMS." And they, the radio operator says whatever, whatever. And then they continue like trying to restrain the dude or whatever. But the whole time they're struggling with the guy. Pelosi's on the floor, laid out, no motion at all. So the
not a
cops try to,
taser in sight.
yeah,
That's what I
Not
was. That's what I was
right.
looking at.
yep.
Not a taser in sight. Not a fucking pepper spray in sight. Certainly not a gun. Right?
Well,
Shit is crazy.
I definitely agree with you there. I would say I probably could argue that they probably were right to not use the pepper spray, given that Pelosi's laying right there, laid out. You don't know what's happening with him medically. You know what I'm saying? But taser, gun,
Yeah.
something.
He's assaulted. At that point, it's an assault victim with a
Right.
hammer. You could potentially be saving a
Assault
life.
with a
You
deadly
absolutely,
weapon and
yeah,
resisting.
yeah. You absolutely need to stop the threat. Now, I'm not, and they always say they should shoot to kill, but listen, you got to stop the threat. Whether you shoot to kill or miss, you got to do what you got to do. But
Mhm.
yeah, sit there and fight with a guy that just slammed a 80-year-old or 70, however old, a person, a human, in the head with a hammer is out of control.
Mhm.
Absolutely out of control with no consequence.
Yeah.
You know. All right. I think we're good at this point. Anything else that we need to address?
Not that we need to address necessarily. I mean, the only thing really happening in politics right now is just everything's tied around a debt ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
They're still battling that out. So we've already hit the debt ceiling and passed it, but the Treasury Department is doing what they call extraordinary measures to make sure we don't default on our debt at this point. The Treasury Secretary
We about
Janet
to go
Yellen
into a
said
recession.
she said that we probably can go until like June, July timeframe of these extraordinary measures. And it's basically the government's version of, I can't make the light bill, so I'm gonna, I'll cut back on groceries or cut back on my
Mm-hmm.
medication to pay the lights. So the government's doing that basically at this point. But they said they can do that until about June or July until they run out of money, and then that's when everything's gonna go to shit if we don't extend the debt ceiling. So we'll see what happens.
Shit is wild, yo. Shit is wild. And it's crazy to me that we have a fucking government where the highest ranking individual, the president, can't turn and be like, man, y'all niggas is out of control with this bickering, sign this shit. Like,
Yeah.
make this happen. Like, every
But I
job
mean,
in the world, there is a boss. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
But the thing is that with this is what I think happened, right? Me putting my politics hat on for a quick second is that Kevin McCarthy wants to be speaker. He's an incredibly weak individual. So he allowed the right wing of his caucus, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and people like that, to strong arm him to say no negotiation on debt ceiling unless we bring all these spending cuts, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
only way they're going to cut spending is to cut Medicare and Social Security. They keep saying on non-discretionary spending, but it's not enough money in the non-discretionary budget to get the kind of cuts they're talking about unless you cut Medicare and Social Security, right? They just don't want to say it. Kevin McCarthy probably thinks they're fucking crazy. We're going to get killed if we do that. But I got these Democrats over here who are going to be good people. And even though my side won't let me bring a debt ceiling bill to the floor, the Democrats will use the rules of the House, which you can bring something that's called a discharge position. The Speaker of the House controls what comes to the floor for a vote. But there's a thing called a discharge position that allows you to bypass the speaker to bring a bill to the floor. So I
Right.
think that he believes Democrats will put together a discharge position to raise the debt ceiling. All 212 of them will vote for it. and then you just need 6 sane Republicans, and there's 6 sane Republicans who will
Yeah.
join the Democrats to get you to 218, and then it'll pass, and then he can
And then
say,
it
"I
gets to this. Yeah.
couldn't do anything
I
about it."
backed you guys, right?
Right. And then, of course, the Senate side, because even McConnell's like, these people are fucking nuts. They'll go ahead and pass it. And then crisis averted, while he gets to hold down and say, I tried to stop them. I'm with you guys.
Right.
You can't run a country like that.
It,
Right.
it's just nasty because we're in a nation that instead of just doing what is good for
For the
for
people.
the people, it's politics as usual. It's
Hmm.
just nasty. It's really
Yeah.
nasty.
And
It's really
so,
nasty.
he's putting a lot of faith, and I think the Democrats will do that. And I think they'll find, a handful of Republicans to join them to get this thing passed. But you can't govern like this, and that's the problem, is that there's a saying in politics, and Republicans hate when you say it, but it's true, right? Republicans tell you that the government doesn't work, and then they get put in charge and show you that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is more classified documents. They found Biden allowed the FBI to search his house. They did a voluntary search. They found some more classified documents. Republicans came out, hair on fire. "Oh, this is how come the FBI didn't raid his house like they did Trump's? Blue, 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 blue. This is insane. Biden is the worst guy ever." And then 2 days later, they found classified documents at Mike Pence's house. And now it's like, oh, I mean, that's different. It's the same, but it's different. But it's different. We don't need to talk about the differences, but it's different. So,
Right.
in the National Archives, after the Mike Pence thing happened, they sent a letter to all former presidents and all former vice presidents that are still living, with the exception of Jimmy Carter, and asked them to search their home to see if they have any classified documents so they can get turned in. And if you're asking why not Jimmy Carter, it's not just that he's old as shit and was president back in the 70s. It's that the Presidential Records Act, which is the law that governs the handling of presidential records, actually doesn't it doesn't govern Jimmy Carter. It became effective after his
After his
presidency,
term, so it doesn't
so
apply to him.
he doesn't have to comply with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he still has classified documents, it's been 40 years. I'm pretty sure that shit probably doesn't matter.
Which is nuts because who knows what was laying around other people before that.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, the fact that fucking the moon isn't real, the moon landing was fake, like all that shit. All right.
The moon's a superstructure.
Yeah, whatever. All right. All right. That's all I got.
Right.
And you got anything, EJ?
Nah, my allergies are whooping my ass right now. They've been fucking me up right now.
You need to take allergy medicine, nigga. You stay with fucking
That shit just
allergies.
came out of nowhere. I was fine like an hour ago. Shit came out of nowhere.
Mm.
Shit just
Yo, you
punched
still
me
in a
the face.
relationship?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We gonna do a check every week.
Going to check on the relationship.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Check in because you never know.
That's why he's still here. That's why he made it. He not out there fucking doing his thing on Saturday night. He not with the female Pelosi. 84-year-old little thing on a Saturday night.
You gotta relax. You gotta relax.
She's young at heart, guys.
Oh man. We gonna get Nancy on the pod, man.
Listen. I'm not even gonna say what I'm thinking. VP, I'm gonna hand the reins to you.
Nancy, have you been motorboated?
Before it gets too out of control?
No.
Oh my God.
No. She ain't in the house no more.
Listen, I just showed up to give Nancy the hammer. That's it.
I mean,
That's what he said.
I
I showed up to give Nancy the hammer and she wasn't home. That's what his statement was.
All right, everybody. We definitely appreciate you guys for rocking with us. No bingeables this week, so we'll get you that next week.
Yeah.
While I'm here, I did see that movie, You People, Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill. Funny as shit.
I do want to watch that.
It kind of it is what you expect it to be, but it's very funny in my opinion. But yeah, like we say every week, man, make that phone call, reach out to somebody, let them know you're thinking about them, send that text message, let that shit go. tomorrow's promised nobody. So definitely do that. We definitely appreciate you guys rocking with us on this week's episode of the Cast Worthy Podcast. For the folks who listen live, we appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday morning to vibe with us. For the folks who will listen once the episode posts, we appreciate that time as well. You can also find the podcast on all podcasting platforms by searching Castworthy. Also, you can follow us on any of our social media by searching at Castworthy. On Instagram, it's at Castworthy_podcast. While you're there, leave us a like, subscribe, share, follow, tell a friend and tell a friend. Help us grow the audience. We greatly would appreciate it. And until next week, we will see you guys on the next episode of the Castworthy podcast. Hope you guys have a good week. And yeah, that's it. We're out. Peace.
Peace.